Welcome, everybody, to DCA FRiday Podcast. Yes, we have rebranded the A Bit Too Far podcast. I'm Chris.
I'm Brian.
And the reason for our rebranding is we felt that the A Bit Too Far podcast, like the title itself, just wasn't going to serve our community well enough as our missions, philosophy when it comes to investing or creating content or, building projects, we felt that DCA FRiday was a much better title for our philosophy. I mean, we dollar cost average on Fridays to, whatever our investments are. And, it can go so much further. Like it could mean more than just your, investments into, the stocks or cryptocurrency or, whatever it is. It could be, what are you spending your time and money on building, So I felt that, that was definitely a direction we need to go. And, Brian, how did you feel when we came up with the new name?
Well, I mean, DCA FRiday says pretty much everything that we do. You dollar cost average, that can be looked at as where you're putting your money, where you're putting your investments, or what you're investing in. Like you said, are you investing your time? What are you investing your mental efforts in? What are you doing to complete the grind, to make your life better or the lives of people around you better? So it could be anything. Are you just sitting on the couch doing nothing? Because if that's the case, then you need to listen.
Yeah, nobody got rich watching Netflix.
unless you're some film critic that can sit there, but by that time they've already put in their hours. They can afford to sit there and watch their movies and be like, this one sucks. All right, I'm done.
Yeah, there's very few movie critics that actually make a killing on YouTube. or I don't even think there's actually podcast movie reviewers. I haven't checked, but the people who are making money, they put the grind in a long time ago.
Yeah.
Nobody was an overnight success without 2 to 10 years worth of work.
Exactly.
So that's what we're planning on doing. Like that's what we're building. We are building this podcast, and with that, we plan on, interviewing, other people who are building. What are they grinding on? What will help them help their communities, and what will make their lives better, and their communities' lives better. And, how are they going to make a profit doing it? How are they going to, leave a legacy behind, for their kids and maybe even their grandkids? It could be, you could become a real estate mogul. You could become, filthy rich in the stock market, cryptocurrencies. You could, start a business selling cars, flipping houses. It doesn't matter. What is your DCA? What are you DCAing into? What is your grind? What is your hustle? That's pretty much it, So I will say that just on a personal note, from starting this podcast idea and seeing it come into fruition, this has been a grind for quite some time for me. And, I will say that the rebrand was definitely a passion project because I am not good at Photoshop whatsoever. And it took me like 11 hours to actually, create our logo and everything. So I hope you guys enjoy it. I think that it speaks volumes as to what we're all about. Like the logo pretty much shows like stacks of coins with plants on top. And are you watering them with your work, your effort, your time, your money? What are you growing? What is your goal? And at the very end, I chose to do a sunflower that was a Bitcoin because, we are into the cryptocurrency space, and Bitcoin is definitely going to the moon. It might not happen this year, might not happen next year, but it's definitely going to be worth dollar cost averaging into. And part of dollar cost averaging, the grind, the effort, is building something that can actually, help sustain growth, help sustain further investments, further projects. Yep. I know for me personally, I've been looking at creating a brand, I was A Bit Too Far was actually, started as a cryptocurrency comic. I'm still doing the comics, eventually you'll be able to buy a mug or something like that, or, a calendar. who knows, but the point is we're all building and grinding on something. And we want you to know how we're doing it. We want you to tell us what you're grinding on, what you're building. And it really is important, I think, that more people hear that message. I mean, one of my favorite YouTubers is Jaspreet from Minority Mindset. And we were actually talking about this a couple days ago in Messenger, Brian and I. And we were talking about how, people always talk about work-life balance. And the truth of the matter is, just about everybody has work-life balance of some kind. And just about everybody is still living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
In order to actually build something and grow something, and be financially successful, be set for life, have something to leave behind for your kids, there's got to be something that you're grinding harder on. Something else has to sacrifice. And, if you have a perfect work-life balance, then you're mediocre at everything. And it was, you jack of all trades, master of nothing.
Yeah.
And then, like the next day, Minority Mindset dropped an epic video. What were your opinions when you first saw it? When I shared that with you?
Well, at first I was sitting at my desk at work, and I was trying to listen to it, and my headphones weren't working, and somehow it linked through the Bluetooth device on my desktop.
Oh. And everybody at work got to hear the Minority Mindset.
Well, not only that, but because of where I work, I have access to monitoring the video on anybody on my team's computer. So it started playing on all of them. So
everybody was watching Minority Mindset thanks to you.
Yes,
and they knew who to blame.
I had the program that we use up on my desktop to monitor their screens, because it comes up with a separate screen, and it gives me little icons of each one of their computer monitors, so that I can click on their monitor. All of a sudden, my computer takes over their screen. Well, I didn't know that by having that application open on my computer, that if I hit the wrong button, every one of them could see what's on my screen.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So they all started listening to it, and I was like, well, okay, let's go with it. So
I bet quite a few people had some questions after that.
Yeah, a couple of them did, but then there's the odd ones, the ones that you didn't think about. They were coming up. One of them came up to me and was like, "What was that video about?" And she was talking about, I feel like everything I do is mediocre, right? And being her supervisor, and I looked at, as soon as she said that, I looked at all of her metrics, and sure enough, she's borderline, right across the board on every single thing. So, I mean, that opened up a conversation between me and her, and I was like, well, what are you, like he said, what are you putting your time and your efforts? What are you grinding on? And she was like, I don't know. She's a single mom. She has one kiddo. She works paycheck to paycheck, and she makes about 17, 18 bucks an hour. So she doesn't know where to start, and I was able to sit down with her and be like, okay, well, let's talk about what you're passionate about. What is something that you feel like you could do every day and not feel like it would work?
I'm liking where this is going, because, you don't expect those kinds of talks to happen at work with your supervisor.
No, but I mean, that's the type of person that I am, though. Is if they're struggling, I'm the one that's like, okay, well, let's help them. Let's help pick them up out of the dirt and get them to where they need to be. I don't care if I raise them up and they end up transferring off of my team to go somewhere else to be, to move on. I look at it as, hey, I helped educate them and get them up, and now they're moving forward. So that's great. And then that opens a position on my team and allows me to do that for someone else in another department that might be hitting that glass ceiling or whatever. But with her, we ended up narrowing it down to, she likes dealing with animals, and she has friends that work at an animal rescue, and she's been spending her time there on the weekends for months. And she's like, well, all I do is go in there and play with the puppies. And I was like, okay, but why don't you start some sort of like a Facebook page or an online media account or something that could help drum up business for these people that are getting these animals? I was like, maybe you could be one of the people that helps get more people into that society to get these animals out so they don't end up getting shipped out. Because where I live in Austin, Texas, it's a no-kill town. So any animal ends up in a pet shelter, they just basically keep them until they're given out, or they'll farm them out to other cities.
Yeah, I remember doing that for the animal shelter on Camp Pendleton when we were enlisted and we were at Camp Pendleton. I was actually volunteering at the animal shelter there. I actually helped, them rebuild the cat room. Like, it was literally just an empty room with cages, and then so we remodeled the whole thing so it became a cat's playroom, and everything was just so much better for them, because right outside that door there's just nothing but barking dogs everywhere. And it's really sad that half the dogs that are in there are there because the owners got deployed and they couldn't take them with them, and they would get stationed overseas, and it was they'd have to go live in the barracks and they can't have their dog come with them.
Right.
And so you have all of these, shelter dogs that are well trained or well tempered, and they would sit there for months and months and months because it was a no-kill shelter. And so I think that what you said to her was like absolutely brilliant. Create a social campaign. Create an Instagram account, create a Facebook page. Whatever it is, take pictures with them. Do a little profile of the dog. Talk about the personality. Do video. Little. This is Fluffy. Fluffy likes playing fetch. Or likes to play basketball,
But what it developed into, what she's going to end up doing is, she's going to help do some social media marketing and stuff like that to get more people into that pet shelter to get some of those animals out of there. But while we were talking, we found out that she likes to knit and make clothes and stuff like that. And I told her, I was like, do you have any idea how big the market is for people that like to buy things for their animals? I was like, can you sew like little jackets and little hats and boots and shirts and stuff like that?
Sew up some booties for a Great Dane.
Yeah. I told her, I was like, you come up with those. I was like, you don't even have to really come up with them. You just come up with pictures of what they look like and what you can recreate. And you can start there, and you can start your own online business. And then I introduced her into Shopify. I was like, look at this. You can drop ship stuff. You don't even have to own it. You just have them go to your website, buy it, and it ships from India. So
that is true. I mean, when it comes to Shopify, that's one of the things that we're working on. A lot of the people in the cryptocurrency space, especially at the Bitcoin pub. For those of you who don't know, check out the bitcoin.pub. It's a great community. And, if you have any questions about cryptocurrency and whatnot, everything that you need to know is there, and everybody's very helpful. Anyway, enough of a plug for the Bitcoin pub, but a lot of people in that community, we're all building something on Shopify because it's simple. All you need really is like a JPEG file or a PNG file that you can actually take whatever design it was that's in that file and blow it up and put it on a t-shirt or put it on a mug, put it on a hat, have it embroidered or something. And, there's so many different things that people can do on Shopify, including drop shipping, where you can actually import items from, AliExpress or Alibaba or anywhere else, whether it's jewelry, sweaters, baby bibs, it doesn't matter. If it's there and there's a market for it, you can actually drop ship it and never touch a single piece of any inventory.
Yeah.
And I think another great, like if you're going to actually make stuff yourself, definitely you should be looking at Etsy. Etsy, Amazon. I think Etsy would be a bit more for those who are starting out. And Amazon would be for when you start making it big and you all of a sudden have other people that can make this inventory for you and have it shipped out. So I think, having you as a supervisor is definitely, a highlight of her day. When was that you guys had that talk?
That was Thursday.
Oh, yesterday.
Yeah.
That's outstanding. That is outstanding.
Yeah, so we had that talk yesterday, and then I got into work this morning, and she's sitting at her desk, and she's got her sketchbook on her desk, and I was like, "What are you doing?" And she goes, "Oh, just coming up with ideas for pet clothes." And she just starts flipping through her book, and I mean, she had probably 40 or 50 pages.
Which means that this is obviously something that she had already done previously.
Yeah.
Just never went anywhere with it.
Yeah, she just never. I found out today that she was going to college for fashion and design, but she never went anywhere with it because she got pregnant and she ended up dropping out I think her second year of college.
Mm-hmm.
So now she's looking at it, and she apparently spent multiple hours last night online looking at different areas on how she can set up an online business, what all she needs to do, how can she drop ship, how can she invoice, all that fun stuff. And she was like, "There's so much information out there." I was like, "Yeah, and you're going to spend multiple hours every single day looking at this stuff. And eventually, one day, something's going to click, and it's going to go to the moon."
Yep. And all it takes is seriously, a single file, like a PNG file that you could put on a T-shirt or a mug or whatnot, could be worth $700,000 to your business. Like she could literally do a iloveshelterdogs.com or something like that, and literally do like shelter animal, or like iloveshelteranimals.com, and just do shelter related apparel.
Yeah.
All of it print on demand.
Yep.
So I think that's phenomenal. But so everybody else that's listening to us, and even those who are watching, because we are recording, and I do have a YouTube account for DCA Friday. I want to go ahead and share my screen. That way, people who are watching can actually take a look at, see what the Minority Mindset had to say. That way, they know what the heck we're talking about. So let me go ahead and hit the share screen button. If I remember how to do it, that's the key right there. Oh, it's the big button. Okay, screen. Got it. And start. There we go. We'll do YouTube. There we go. Share. All right, here we go. Do you see it?
Yep.
All right. So for those of you who are listening, pay attention. Yeah, everybody keeps saying that. Now, real quick, the fact that this came out literally the day after we were talking about it is just absolutely brilliant. I'm like, oh my gosh, we need to share this.
Yeah. Look at the look on this guy's face right now where you paused it at. He's just looking at you like, what are you spending your stuff on? What are you doing your time?
Seriously, what are you dollar cost averaging into? What are you building? What are you grinding? I absolutely love Jaspreet and Minority Mindset. He's one of my favorite content creators, and he's a very smart guy. I mean, the guy started off, I think he was like doing doctor or lawyer type college stuff, and he's like, you know what, I want to do my own business. And his family was telling him, I'll let you guys watch the video. He talks about it. It's bullshit. Well, this is a great example. But before he starts talking about it, Do you have any commentary? You want to do the commentary after he finishes talking about this example right here?
I would say let's do the commentary after.
All right.
I've used this at work with people, and it like blows their mind.
What's bad is that I only have one credit card. It's like, why would anybody need 5 credit cards? This is ridiculous.
Well, it's because they play the credit card game. They use this card, they pay their Visa to pay their debit card, and then they use their debit card to pay their American Express to pay their Discover. It's a vicious cycle.
Yeah, it is. It is. All right, we'll let him keep going. Now, when he was talking about this, my mind immediately went to Dave Ramsey. You know exactly what I'm talking about, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the snowball method.
Yes, the snowball method. All right. We'll talk about that in a bit. I'm going to let Jaspreet continue. Not eating. Nobody recommends that you do that.
Ramen noodles, 25 cents package.
Pay attention to this, guys. I want everybody listening to and watching to pay attention to what he has to say, because this is absolutely brilliant, and it's the same thing that Dave Ramsey's basically, talking about in his 7 Baby Steps program.
Yeah. Its face is perfect.
That kind of sounds like, socialism. Socialism sounds like great in theory, but it freaking sucks for everybody who actually lives in a socialist or communist country.
It's great on paper until they come and take all your stuff and give it to your neighbor.
He's making a very valid point here. Like, seriously, too many people are wrapped up in being entertained. I mean, granted, entertainment is a great way to gather a following. Here's the podcast. We're working on, creating something that's going to be entertaining and engaging. All right. And, for anybody listening, please leave us a voicemail. Tell us what you're thinking about what Jaspreet has to say here. Tell us how we're doing. We love the feedback. It helps us make, content better.
Yeah.
But when you're doing nothing but consuming, you're not building anything. You're not changing anything. You're just surfing on the status quo, just staying on the lake. You're not making any waves. You're not going to make any changes. We'll let him continue. Another thing that I thought of when he was talking about like vacations and breaks and stuff. If anybody has kids, taking a vacation is a horrible idea, because taking a vacation isn't actually restful or relaxing. It's an exercise in trying to keep unqualified human beings alive.
Yep. And it's financially not possible for a lot of people.
That's true. You might be able to build up a lot of vacation days at work, but if you can't actually physically go take a vacation, you're better off possibly. I know for me personally, I don't take a whole lot of vacation days, because it's too darn expensive to freaking go anywhere and do anything.
Yeah. Like I live in Texas. If I were to try to take my family on vacation somewhere, one, I'm not going to fly anywhere with my kids because that's just nuts. It costs $5,000.
Yeah,
just to get a plane ticket. And I live in Texas. You know how long you can drive for Texas before you leave this state? You're stuck in a car for 12 hours in any direction before you get out of where I live.
Hop in the van, kids. We're going to Disneyland.
2 days later, you're in Louisiana. You still got to get to Florida.
Oh, that's Disney World. But yes, same point. Like 2 days later, the kids have been cooped up. I mean, maybe you did a couple of hotel stops. Maybe you stop at a restaurant like McDonald's or something with a playground, something to get the energy out, let them sleep. Okay. But once you're at Disney World, you still have to make sure that these little human beings, these tiny little creatures who absolutely love and adore you, if hopefully, stay alive.
Yeah. Yep.
It's not a vacation. It's a nightmare.
Yeah, so, I have this saying that I say at work to anybody that works with me that has children. When they start complaining about, why didn't you approve me to have this day off? Or why didn't you approve me to have that day off? And blah, blah, blah. And it's funny, but it's so true when I look at them and say, you have 4 kids. You do not earn vacation days. Your children do. So that being said, when they're like, well, why didn't I have this day off? And it's like, well, because you've used the last 12 vacation hours that you had because little Timmy was sick for 8. And then little Julia was sick for 8. And all of a sudden you think you got these days available and they're gone. Your kids fucked them away.
Which is really unfortunate, especially for those who are single parents.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's rough. It is rough.
But that's why we grind.
That's why we grind. That's why we build something in our spare time. When the kids go to sleep, like seriously, from 7 p.m., like the kids were getting showers and then bed. Showers and then bed. All right. So for an hour before they actually went to bed, I actually started working on the design for the DCA Friday's podcast logo, but I didn't finish until like 6:30 in the morning. Okay. I was grinding while they were sleeping.
Yep.
And then when I took them to school, I caught up on sleep. Let's go ahead and let him finish. Let's let him finish. All right. And that's pretty much it. He's only got like another, 30 some seconds. And but we'll go ahead and stop the share right there. But seriously, anybody who, is looking for, inspiration or needs to have, some surround themselves with better input, like great advice, great, ideas, how to, redesign your life. There's plenty of books and YouTube channels out there and programs out there. And, Jaspreet's Minority Mindset is definitely a terrific YouTube channel. I suggest that, you guys check it out. I know that we've been listening to him for over a year now, right?
Yeah, at least a year.
Yeah. So we highly recommend taking a look at his YouTube channel, Minority Mindset, and leave a comment. Tell him that you heard about him from us. He's not going to know who the heck we are, but you know what? If enough people start hearing, or sharing that with him, maybe he'll, look us up. Who knows? It would be great to have him on the show.
Exactly. Get him on the show. I'd like to ask him some questions about how he feels about index stocks.
Oh yes, I think he actually has a video about that. He has so many videos and so much content. Like he posts a video every week, without fail, every week. Yeah. I haven't seen him miss a single week. And that's grind, that's dedication. You've got to put in the hours. Yep. You can't just like people talk about the 4-hour work week. And they're thinking, oh, I only have to work 4 hours to have a happy life. No, that's not what it means. Or, the grind is so real. You have to work as much as possible in order to be able to, have the benefits of only needing to work only 4 hours a week.
Yeah.
But you have to work and grind your ass off to get to that point.
Yep.
It's
like when you see those people that are in these high power positions, like the CEOs of, Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies and things like that. And everybody, when you see what their schedule is like, I haven't seen a single CEO whose schedule isn't set up for them to work less than 60 hours a week.
Yeah, seriously.
I mean, they're doing meetings at home. The CEO for the company that I work for, he's flying all over the freaking country and sometimes across the globe to meet with other countries and things like that to discuss like world economics and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And these people didn't get there only working 4 hours a day. They may sleep only 4 hours a day.
For those of you who are brand new to listening, I just mentioned Peter. Peter is one. Peter Saddington is probably one of the smartest people I know personally. I've met him, shook his hand, gave him a hug. Like we talk, fairly often. And he has a grind of like 20 hours a day because he's building the world's first, meta exchange. And it's not just an exchange. He wants it to be the homepage of the internet, basically, like the Google of, social media, crypto, news, like whatever you need. He wants it to be your homepage. That's what his grind is right now. And I'm wearing the t-shirt and the hat.
Yep.
And Brian and I are both on Yen. Yen.io is the world's first social exchange. And it is so much more than that. And we can't wait for you guys to join it. And eventually we will have a DCA Friday podcast channel on Yen as well.
Yep. So, and on there, you'll be able to see all of our transactions that we're making ourselves. And you'll see that it happens every Friday.
Yep. Every Friday, is when we do our dollar cost averaging, into our projects. Unless something comes up that's just preventing like an absolute have to pay to keep the lights on or keep, this going on. Like,
or like in my case, keep my wife in a car.
Yeah. You want to go ahead and share that with the audience. Like what exactly happened, man? Because that was messed up.
Well, my wife was driving on a road where they're doing construction on this intersection, what they call a double diamond. So basically, your traffic, you're going down 2 lanes of your road, and then they go through the light, and they cross over each other, and they go straight, and then they cross back. I have no idea where they got the idea of this. It's supposed to improve traffic flow and all that sort of stuff. But so far, the intersection that this has caused, there have been 7 or 8 car accidents in the last 6 weeks at this intersection.
Jesus. Is
So
that why they're working on it, to improve the rate, to decrease the rate?
No. The reason they were working on it is because it was supposed to decrease the amount of traffic, because it's going where it's at is going from a regular road that leads onto an interstate. Okay. Well, the problem that they were having was the road leading onto the interstate was only a 2-lane road. 1 lane went straight, 1 lane turned, and you get traffic backed up for 2 or 3 miles down the road. So by doing the double diamond, now they've improved the traffic, but the problem is people that are coming through there are blowing through there at like 50, 60 miles an hour, and they can't see the lights and they can't see the stop signs. So what happened with my wife was she was at a complete stop. She rolled forward to go through the intersection, and a guy in a Dodge Challenger came the other direction. And like I said, the lanes crisscross over each other. So when she was turning left to follow her main street, he was coming the opposite direction and took a right and ended up hitting almost head on. So my wife's Ford Flex is completely totaled, and so is his Dodge Challenger. Now, the life lesson that you learn from this is there are traffic cameras at this intersection. Are they on? No. They were not active because it's in a construction zone.
Yeah.
And 2, everybody was asking me, well, the people that I was talking with were like, do you have any dashboard camera footage?
Yeah,
and
dash cam.
I was like, no, I don't drive a police car. Why do I need a dashboard camera? Well, now I'm pricing dashboard cameras for the front window and the rear window, because his insurance is saying that she's at fault, and our insurance is saying he's at fault, and they're in arbitration right now trying to argue who's going to pay what, right? But worst comes to worst is he ran the red light, but I have no actual evidence to prove this. So I'm stuck paying my deductible and getting my insurance on the hook to pay for my wife's car, and he's going to have to do the same thing to pay for his stuff.
Yeah, and since insurance is all about not paying if they can get away with it, they're going to fight and fight and fight, because there is no actual evidence. I mean, police report, witnesses, anybody else saying that you guys had the green light?
Well, that's the problem. Is we have a Facebook app or a page for my entire neighborhood that's got 4,000 homes in it. And that's one of the busiest intersections right outside of our neighborhood. And I've posted on there to everybody, and no one has come forward to say that they actually witnessed the thing. Because if I had a witness, this would not be an issue. We'd petition his insurance and be like, guess what? I have an eyewitness that says they saw your driver run a red light. Done. That's the nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
But I can't get anybody in the neighborhood that witnessed it to come forward. And the construction crew that was working on the side of the road there, actually, some of their workers had to jump out of the way to avoid getting hit by a car, right? And none of them have, I think it might be because of the actual people that are running it, not necessarily the workers, but none of the workers have come forward to say, hey, we saw this accident.
They also might not be able to, legally, like whatever, what happens at work stays at work,
exactly.
Kind of stuff.
So, one of the things that I was wondering, because I've emailed the public relations person that's in charge of TxDOT for this project, and then I've emailed the foreman for the construction crew that was actually out there the morning that the wreck happened, and I can't get a response out of either of them. I can't get them to say hi and acknowledge that I even emailed them. Nothing. And more than likely, they're doing it for their own liability reasons. They're not going to respond because they don't want to get involved.
Well, a great way to get around people saying, "Oh, we didn't receive any, correspondence from you." And I actually learned this from a former coworker who used to fight debt collectors, because and here's a little tidbit that most debt collector or fix your credit, or get out of debt programs don't tell you, is that debt collectors don't actually own your debt. They're just collecting on it.
Yep.
And here, let me give you an example, okay? He had purchased a brand new Dell computer, okay? It was like a $6,000 computer, okay? Yeah. He put $150 down on it, took it home, and the thing would not work. He paid for a working computer. You gave me a computer that doesn't work. This is not what I purchased. Well, he found out that it was missing a chip, a $50 chip, which he purchased and then fixed the computer, and it worked just fine. But the problem was, just on principle, he told Dell, I'm not paying you anymore for a product that you gave me that does not work.
Yeah.
Like if you bought a car and it was missing something, like, I don't know, an axle.
Right.
Like, would you continue to pay for a car that didn't work from a dealership? No. And you shouldn't have to. Anyway, so he stopped paying Dell. Dell was like trying to collect and whatnot. So they sent it off to an agency, and they tried to collect as well. He's like, and he told this agency, like, are you Dell? No, we own the contract. Oh, do you have proof that you own the contract? Well, we have a letter here stating that, Dell sold it to us. It's like, oh, okay. Then that means that there should be a bill of sale. How much did you purchase my contract for? Well, they can't provide that information. And the reason that debt collectors can't provide that information, this goes for many different instances. Debt collectors purchase accounts in bulk.
Yep.
They don't purchase accounts one-on-one. There is no bill of sale for your account. If they had a receipt for your account, then they could show proof. Like when they call you on the phone saying, this is a recorded line, and any information will be used to collect the debt, even though you can't be sued for the debt because of the length of time, the reason they say they won't sue you for the money is because they already know that they would lose in court. Yeah. Because you could literally subpoena the debt collection company for a true original, notarized document, being the bill of sale, the proof of purchase, the proof of contract. They don't have any of that.
Nope.
And they have to provide that in a subpoena. So the document that you have, like when a debt collector says, you owe this much to, Sprint, or you owe this much to Dell, or you owe this much to Chase, and we're willing to settle for this much of it. And then at the very bottom of the paper, it says sincerely, there's no signature on it because a signature would imply that they actually have true ownership and they could get sued for falsifying a document. All right.
Yep.
That's why there's no signature on the bottom. Also, if a company like, Chase or Dell or whatnot, they go to, when they do their taxes, they say, hey, this is a bad debt. We should get a tax credit on this. When they take the tax credit, basically the government pays for the item that you just purchased or that, they gave to you. Okay. Whether that's, a loan or a computer or whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
And so that company got their money in a tax credit or a tax return, type situation. Yeah. And then they're like, hey, you know what? We can turn around and sell all of these, bad debts in bulk to a loan shark, to a credit collection agency. And so then they're double dipping, which is actually illegal for them to do. But nobody calls them on it because they don't know their rights and they don't know anything when it comes to the Fair Credit Protection Collection, Act or whatever it is. So, these credit collection agencies, these debt collection agencies, they have no leg to stand on, which is why they won't sue you for it. And they can't prove that they actually own it, which means that whatever document they send you that says, hey, according to Chase, you owed them this, and we're willing to settle for this much, sincerely. That's a hearsay document in court.
Yep.
Hearsay. I could literally write, take a Photoshop copy of that, erase my name, put the judge's name on there, print it out, and say, Your Honor, you owe me. It's a hearsay document. There's nothing that they've got, and the reason that the get out of debt programs don't tell you about this is because it's, nobody wants to fight. Nobody wants to fight for their rights, and it's not very well known because nobody actually knows their rights. It's just so much easier to pay them to go away and leave you alone and hope they'll take the hit off of your credit.
Right, because there's many a times you may actually pay them, and that thing may sit on your credit report for the next 5 or 6 years, or until you check it next time, and you're like, why did I not get a good interest rate on my car? Wait.
5-10 years later when you need to get a car, and they do a soft hit on your credit, and all of a sudden that pops up. It's like, oh, I paid that off 10 years ago. Why is it still there? Because they don't have any incentive to take it off.
Yeah.
But you can actually demand that they actually, take them to court and demand that they actually do take it off because they have no legal leg to stand on. They're basically like mob muscle.
Yep. Yeah, that's why I would say the next time anybody gets someone from a bill collector calling them, my first thing that I would like to ask would be like, okay, well, how's this sound? You want me to pay you X amount of dollars that you say I owe you. You show me a written contract that has my signature on it, and I'll pay you.
Yeah, have them substantiate their claim. And they'll send you a document, basically an email, from Chase to them. But nowhere on there tells you how much they purchased it for, which by law, the Fair Debt Collection Protection Act or whatever it was, an agency can't collect more than 10% of what they paid. 10%, they can't charge more than 10. So if they pay $1 for your contract, they paid like $10,000 for, a pile of contracts, and your account, was basically broken down to like just $1 worth of that 10,000 in the bulk purchase. They can't charge more than 10% above what they paid. It's another reason why they don't tell you how much they purchased it for.
Yeah. Cause they may have purchased it for, $2 or
pennies.
$3 or a couple of pennies for one, and they bought 200,000 of them.
Mm-hmm.
So to them, let's say they paid 10 grand, and they have 200,000 people's debts that are saying, and the average debt is going to be anywhere from a couple $100 to a couple thousand. Generally, that's what we're looking at. These things are paying, and they're like, well, you purchased furniture from Rooms to Go, and you financed $3,000. You paid $1,500 of it off. You still owe them $1,500. They may have bought that thing for a couple of cents, but they're going to turn around and tell you, we will settle for 75% of what you owe. And your average person is going to look at that, and they're going to be like, I owe you $1,500, and you're willing to settle it for $900. That's a deal. But what the average person doesn't understand is, no, it's not a deal for you. It's a deal for them because they bought a rock for 2 cents and they made $900 off of it.
Yeah. No, obviously this isn't financial advice, guys. Do your own research. Look up the Fair Debt Collection, Protection Act, and actually read it. Actually read it. I don't know. There's not a lot of people that will do that because it's, nobody likes reading those kinds of documents. They're boring as hell. But the only reason I learned this was because my former coworker actually did read it. He took notes. He bought books, about, what legally could be done. And he was actually fighting debt collection agencies and putting them out of business. Yeah. There was a debt collection agency that was actually listed on the stock market, which is actually also illegal for them. It can't be listed on the stock market. So not only did he get them delisted, he also ran them out of business. Because eventually the word got out that everything that they were doing was illegal.
Yep.
And majority of them are operating in that manner. They are purchasing in bulk. There is no, contract with your name on it, your signature, and theirs, there's not.
My favorite.
The second you give them a penny, all of a sudden you just validated the contract and now you do owe it.
And now you owe them.
Yep. And they will use that in court. They would say, Your Honor, if it wasn't true and we didn't own the debt, why would they have paid us in the first place?
Yep. So as soon as you start making payments on it, you owe it.
Yep. So anyway, a bit of interesting information for those of you who are interested in that sort of stuff. I have like papers and books and pamphlets, all sorts of information on that stuff. And maybe we'll get into that on another episode. But wow, how long have we been doing this already? I don't have a timer.
It's been almost an hour.
Almost an hour? Wow. I was expecting this recording to actually be cut in half, and then we would just go ahead and do our advertisement in the middle on Anchor, and then we'll go ahead and record a second. But it looks like we're going to do a full solid hour with just the one video, just the one recording. So, hey, that works too.
That's how we do it. That's how we do it.
It's okay. This is the first episode of the DCA FRiday Podcast. Welcome, y'all. Hope you've been enjoying it. Brian, what are you thinking about building?
Well, for me, it's not necessarily like a product per se. For me, I'm trying to build my family, right? I have 3 daughters that I'm trying to raise, and with that comes 3 little gremlins that like to spend every dime I bring into the house. So for me,
yeah, I know that situation.
Right? For me, it's more the traditional route. I have my bachelor's, and I start my master's, I start my MBA in August. So for me, it's going to be the grind of my education. And then it's a matter of where I'm going to go in my company, And on the side, while I'm managing that, that's just my daily work. On the side, I try to figure out how can I maximize my investments. That's what I'm growing, is how can I maximize my 401? How do I take the money that I have that's free and put it towards Bitcoin, or put it towards various marijuana stocks or regular blue chip stocks, things like that I'm doing outside of work. So that's what I'm looking at. So I'm always looking at like stock charts and cryptocurrency and trying to see where the trends are, where the bear markets are coming, all that fun stuff, where I can buy as much stuff for as cheap as possible.
There we go. That arbitrage though,
It's serious. Buy it here and sell it there for 200% markup, and then just sit there and do that all day.
Yeah, I can't wait for that to come. We have many projects coming down the line, and for me personally, I'm building. With Brian here, we are building the DCA FRiday Podcast.
Yeah.
And we plan on using this to reach all of you, our listeners, and we would love to hear from you. We would love to hear, leave us a voice message. Leave a comment, and we would love to feature you in like the next episode. And let us know how we're doing. Tell us we suck. Tell us we rock. Tell us, it was a great episode and what we could do to improve. I know that right now, one of the things that I'm planning on doing to help make this experience even better is also getting like intro, like a graphic intro, music intro, music ending. We were talking about music for the podcast. And what we would like to do. So, we definitely want to do something with that to help make it a more engaging and better experience, get you pumped up before you start listening. It's like, one of our favorite entertainment podcasts, which, I don't think either one of us have actually had the time to listen to now that we've started grinding harder, but it was Drinkin' Bros. Yeah. Drinkin' Bros with Matt Best, Evan Hafer, Ross Patterson. They have been grinding on, creating podcasts and creating a community, multiple businesses, and, even the Black Hearted podcast, Launchpad podcast. The list goes on and on. These guys have a grind that I haven't seen anywhere else, other than, with Peter and the people that we're trying to surround ourselves with, gone are the days where it's, let's go hang out with friends and just, eat pizza and drink beer. Like literally it's almost a, full-time job, just grinding on creating something. And, so we got the podcast. I'm also doing the comics, the A Bit Too Far crypto comic, as well as the various apparel that we want to try to create, the brands that we want to try to create together, and even separate. So if you want to support us, go ahead and subscribe. Give us a star. Subscribe, like, whatever it is on whichever platform that you are listening to or watching. Please give us a like and a subscribe, and tell your friends about it. Leave a voice message. Tell us how we're doing. And what direction do you as the audience think that we should be going? With dollar cost average Friday encompassing not just what are you buying on Fridays as far as stocks or crypto or building, but what are you putting your time and sweat equity and what are you grinding on and building? Because as Jaspreet was saying, that the whole work-life balance thing, Brian and I were talking about earlier, it is complete horse crap.
Yep.
If you've got a circular pie chart or a circular chart that has like the spider lines in it, and whichever the chart goes up the spider line, to show where, perfect work-life balance is mediocre, and you will have mediocre results in life. You have to specialize in something. You have to grind on something, build it, work on it. And this is currently our grind. Doing the podcast, creating an audience. Getting involved. We'll be doing interviews in the near future. More like we did with Colin from the Bitcoin Echo Chamber. I highly recommend you guys check out the Bitcoin Echo Chamber. It's a great podcast. Colin is talking with guests like every week, and it's really great content. And
that man lives and breathes that stuff.
Yes. He is the Yen Nation's and Crypto Nation's very own Bitcoin maximalist. And he didn't actually start out that way. He's been grinding so long that he's come to learn, what he's come to learn and believe. And he's grinding to make something of his life.
And I think more people would follow in that same suit if they were exposed to the same information.
And I think that's one of the reasons why we're doing the podcast, is to help get that information out there.
Yep.
If somebody listens to this episode and they've never heard of Minority Mindset, they've never heard of the Bitcoin Echo Chamber, and they check them both out, excellent. Please, mission accomplished. Get yourself, get a hold of these resources, get a hold of this knowledge, this information. Learn how to grind and build something. There's plenty of information out there.
And people can't say, "Oh, well, I didn't know." Everybody has access to the internet. I don't care if it's on your tablet, your smartphone, your laptop. Everybody has it. I had one of my coworkers the other day said that her daughter found out how to access the internet through her freaking GPS device in her car.
Yeah, kids are smart. They know how to freaking just push buttons and figure stuff out.
Yeah. I couldn't figure out how to use a light bright when I was their age. You got these kids programming freaking drones with iPads when they're 7. I was like, what was this? I was trying to figure out how to shoot the rockets out of my G.I. Joe trucks.
Seriously, gotta load it in with that spring thing and make sure it clicks, and then hit that button and go.
Yeah. And make sure you're not dumb and looking at it going, why didn't it go? Oh, son of a.
My eye. Oh man. Well, I think that's going to be it for us today. Any final thoughts, Brian?
Just, for everybody to, if they're looking at what they're going to be doing in the future, what they're going to be grinding for, if they have no idea where they are, sit down and brainstorm what you are interested in. Everybody's got to do themselves. You got to do you. You know, other people might try and talk you out of it, might try and talk you down and say that you're not going to do it. But in the end of the day, you're the only one that's going to do it for yourself.
Yeah. I mean, Just Breed had to, do it against the entire, wishes of his family. Like, you're making the worst mistake in your life. But, he's a very successful entrepreneur now.
Yeah. And
He's
I bet
very successful.
I bet you his family's tone is a whole lot different.
He had to prove them wrong, but he had to grind his ass off to do it.
Yeah.
Sometimes
that's what you got to do.
Yeah, definitely. Find a niche that you're a part of. Like, if there's something that you are passionate about, like you love tennis, find a way to, create content or create a product that helps share your passion with an audience,
Yeah. Figure out a way to come up with the best tennis racket you can, or the best racket wrap that you can find out.
Or socks for tennis players, or tennis, shoes, like actually, you could print on demand Shopify. You could do print on demand shoes. Did you know that?
Yeah. They will put a logo on anything.
It's true. They will. And that's one of the reasons why I think, we are looking at Shopify ourselves as well.
Yeah.
Is because, print on demand, you don't actually have to have any inventory in your garage. It's not created until it's purchased and it's, been demanded. And then somebody else, your partner, whoever that print on demand, store is, prints it up and ships it out to your customers.
Yep.
I highly recommend anybody, who's interested in creating something to look at Shopify. Create Instagram, create a podcast, create a YouTube channel. It doesn't matter. Start building, share content, and get a following. You only need 1,000 raving fans. People who will show up to every event, subscribe to whatever. If you got Patreon, they'll pay $1 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month, whatever it is.
Yep.
You only need 1,000 raving fans that will be there with you through thick and thin.
You got to start somewhere, because regardless of what you do today or what you do tomorrow, the time is going to pass. And it's just a matter of, did you sit there and do nothing, or were you actually doing something while time is going by?
Were you too busy watching Orange is the New Black, or did you actually build something?
Right. Watch Orange is the New Black while you're doing something on the internet. Listen to it in the background.
You know what I do? And I was doing this when I was actually designing our logo. I had already purchased a tutorial, like training boot camp sort of thing for Shopify. And I was playing it in the background, just listening to it through the headphones. I wasn't watching the videos. I was just listening to it as a refresher to help keep me awake, keep my brain engaged, refresh my memory on, what I need to focus on and do as I was creating the logo for those 11 hours. Like, and, I gotta say, keep flooding your mind with great content. Read books, audio CDs, great educational YouTube channels, podcasts, like this one, like the Bitcoin Echo Chamber, like Minority Mindset, or Dave Ramsey. Like we talked about previously on the A Bit Too Far podcast, just a couple episodes ago. Tony Robbins, Robert Kiyosaki. These are phenomenal books, phenomenal people. Start listening to what these people have to say and figure out how it can be applied in your life, or what you can do. Like, there were so many times I listened to Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and Tony Robbins' Unshakable like 12 times each, because I got the audio CDs. And at my last job, I was just driving a 10-mile figure eight for like 8 to 12 hours every day.
Yeah.
So as I'm listening to these books, thoughts just start flooding my brain of what I could do, how I could do what they're talking about. Start listening, start, reading, and, take notes in your books, like whatever book that you're reading, write on it, write inside the book, take notes, put sticky notes in it or something. It doesn't matter. A book that has been loved is a book that's been written in.
Every person that I've heard of or that I know of that is successful as notes of what they were trying to accomplish while they were doing it. You know, Arnold Schwarzenegger didn't get to be the 8-time Mr. Olympia without having a notebook of every single lift he did and every single amount of meal or food that he took into him. And he made it to the top of his career, he made it to the pinnacle. So, you know, and then he moved on into movies and then went into government and things like that. So take notes, because, you know, you never know when you might have an idea that comes in that you write down. Exactly.
Like these are stacks and stacks of notes. These are comic ideas. These are, you know, notes on designs for products, you know, like comic, like written out scripts for comic ideas or other, you know, things that I need to think about on how to design, you know, like stacks. And then I have more inside my desk. Those are just the ones on next to my computer. You know, and I have my goal list right here, like on sticky notes right there, right behind, you know, where I'm like on my wall, straight in front of me. I also wrote my goals and everything on my mirror in like that washable chalk marker type stuff. You know, I stare at them every day. Some of the things that I got, you know, on there, you know, reinvest business profits into passive income streams, more subscribers, you know, learn to mine, you know, cryptocurrency, you know, learn how to advertise, you know, buy first rental property, move out of California, you know, write a book.
Welcome to Texas.
Yeah. Yes. You know, learn to flip houses, you know, use here's a bittofar.com for the comic and that podcast. And then the a bittofar.io for the apparel. I have yet to build the .io, but I've got sketches. And I've taken pictures of these sketches, and I've cleaned them up in the computer, and I've saved them as JPEGs for, you know, the comic blog, and I've saved them as PNGs if I want to put them on, you know, mugs or you know, tumblers or, you know, T-shirts. You know, I'm building, you know, and it's a nonstop grind. I was in the middle of Discord talking with friends, just reading the chats, and there was like a little bit of dialogue. And, you know, it was just absolutely hilarious. I just had to take notes on the dialogue because it would make a great comic.
Yep.
You know,
it's the same. You know, it's the same thing with me at my office. You know, I'm working towards. You know, I start my MBA in August, but in the meantime, what can I do in between there? So I've gotten myself into. I've got Lean Six Sigma. I got my Six Sigma yellow belt. I got a green belt project lined up. A couple months after the green belt project's lined up, I got my black belt coming in. So all of those things are eventually, they may be useless right now for what my job is. But once I finish my MBA, when you can walk into somewhere and you tell them, hey, I have an MBA in this, 20 years of experience in this, and I'm a Six Sigma black belt instructor. I mean, you could pretty much walk into any corporation in the world. You know, so it's figure out where your ultimate goal is, what you need to do in between there, and set up little goals along the way. That way you have some sort of sense of accomplishment while you're working towards that main goal. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, you know, and when you accomplish your goal, you can literally, if you wrote it down, you could literally draw a line right through it. And then you feel that sense of accomplishment. It's like Jaspreet was saying, like when he, instead of doing a balance of paying off like 5 credit cards, you know, just kill one of them 1 month or 2 months, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I've accomplished something. And then work even harder, kill the second one. You know, it's like, oh my gosh, I have 2 of my credit cards paid off.
Well, one thing that I wanted to mention about that video that I don't think he really went into is when you're working towards paying off these credit cards, it's important to pay off one and then work towards paying off the other one. Because if you're working on paying 5 or 6 of them at a time, what he didn't tell you is, yeah, you paid $200 on 5 different credit cards. But when the following month comes around and they hit you with a $190 interest fee for all of them, essentially you only paid $5 on each credit card.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why you got to hit them as hard as you can, one, and then go to another one and go to the other one. So you don't keep getting nailed with that interest fee across 5 or 6 different cards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the things that Dave Ramsey talks about in his program is definitely how to attack, you know, credit card debt, you know, like,
yep.
No, he's not saying stop paying and just attack one. He's like, make the minimum required payment, but attack one as hard as you can.
Make your minimum payments on all of them, and then find one that is the lowest amount.
Yes, the least amount.
Attack it and kill it. Once you're done with that, then you look at what the next smallest one is. Make your minimum payments on everything. Find the next smallest one and attack it with everything you have.
That you were attacking previously with the one that you just paid off. So you roll that, attack power into the next one. So not only are you making your minimum payment, but you're also rolling the attack power as well.
Yep.
So it's even more for that debt than it was for the previous debt. And,
Exactly.
you just keep doing that. And that's why it's called the snowball effect, because the more you do, the bigger the snowball gets.
And at the end, when you're on that last credit card, you're going to be amazed at when you're sitting there and you're looking at how much money you're able to put in that one payment. You may have a balance of 14 grand. It may look like it's a daunting task, but if you were paying off these other 4 or 5 cards, when you get to that last one, you're going to be making payments of like $1,000 a month because you were spending $200 on 5 other credit cards. Well, now all of your proceeds that you were using on that is going towards this other one. So you're going to pay that one off a lot quicker, and you're going to avoid a lot more interest, fees, and headaches along the way.
Yes. So I think that's the show, man. I think we can end on a solid note right there. Oh my gosh. I think this has been a phenomenal episode. For listeners and viewers, please leave a comment, leave us a voicemail. Let us know how we did. What do you think of the new rebranding? What do you think of where our direction is headed? I think that we have quite a lot in store coming up. It's only a matter of time before we start getting more people in for interviews, and we can definitely talk about their grind and how they started, and what they're building, and how others can do what they're doing. Dude, the possibilities are endless. The information's out there. You just got to get off your ass, stop watching Netflix and Hulu, and actually do something.
Yeah.
Educate yourself.
Get rid of the man cave and bring back the study.
There you go. And then you can bring the man cave back after you've made your millions. Okay.
When you're to the point where your money's making money for you and you don't have to go to work every day, then do whatever you want.
Yeah. Build the best man cave ever. It doesn't have to be a college dorm garage. If
anybody's doing that and what we've said has helped you do that, let me know. I'll be the first one to congratulate you.
Absolutely. And hey, if any of you guys have questions for us, please, leave a question in the comment section or leave us a voicemail with a question. We would love to hear from you. And man, I really hope that you guys pay attention and subscribe to the Bitcoin Echo Chamber and Minority Mindset. Look up Dave Ramsey. And definitely follow through. Do something with your lives to help make it better. Stop trying to do this whole work-life balance, because that's the easiest way to go through life and be mediocre. Yep. Live paycheck to paycheck.
All you're gonna do is work-life balance your credit card debt.
Yeah, you're gonna work-life balance yourself to death. Okay, folks.
Yep.
All right. Anyways, I'm Chris.
I'm Brian.
And this is the first episode of the DCA Friday Podcast. Thank you for joining us, folks.
Good night, everyone.